Hello and welcome to Unproductive, a productivity series for the rest of us. This month's episode is going to be a little bit different in that I'm going to focus on reviewing your planning system, your productivity system, your paper planners, but rather than talk you through some tips like I've done in previous episodes of this series or like lay out some sort of a system for doing review, I actually just want to tell you about my process and some of the things that I've been thinking about as I go from 2018 into 2019 myself. I recently had a week off of work. I took a little staycation, and one of the things that I did was start to think about my systems and the tools I use and what's working and what isn't. So I'm just going to walk you through some of the things, and maybe you can kind of take from it questions you might want to ask yourself about your own system or how you might go about a review. So I'll start with what I've used so far, or what I've used in 2018, which is almost over. One thing about me is that I am pretty solid on a regular system for things like to-dos, calendar, keeping track of a someday maybe list. I use Getting Things Done. I've used it for like maybe 5 or 6 years now, to varying degrees of seriousness, but it works really well for me. And I've been in an app called Nirvana HQ for about 2 years, which is pretty niche, but it's very specific to GTD. So if you do GTD, like, it works really well for GTD. It's not one of the more popular apps, but like, I found that it suits my purposes really well. So I intend to carry that into 2019. It does mean that the way I approach paper planners or journals is a little bit different in that I'm not looking for a paper system to just keep track of my straight up to-do list. But like, it also, there are definitely things that I could tweak with it. In 2019, I am thinking about ways to stay more on top of my weekly review, for example, that sort of thing. The other digital thing that I use is Evernote as a kind of repository. If you use GTD, like, that's where I put my reference files, and I completely, like, early this year with KonMari, I completely cleared out my paper files, so the only paper stuff I have is like one little tiny binder. Everything else is in Evernote. I also use Evernote for things like articles I'm interested in, lists of things, just any kind of reference material. I have a lot in there. I think I have like 7,000 something notes. I do have a paid account, and I'm very, like, I have a lot of tags and notebooks, so it's easy to find things. I am reviewing whether to continue to use Evernote because there's been a lot of rumors about whether it's in trouble. I don't think I will switch unless I have to, but I have sort of made sure that I have DevonThink on my computer still, that I know how to export things and import them into DevonThink just in case I need to leave Evernote. And I am thinking about culling down what I have in Evernote. One thing that I think an end of your review can be really useful for is thinking about why you keep things, for what purpose, and like what part of your life do you use them for. Is that still relevant? So for me, one of the big changes for me in 2018, which has been a year of a lot of changes, is that I really stepped back on some of my public stuff. I've shifted more into talking about things like tarot and astrology, spiritual topics, and a little bit less in the kind of activist spaces I used to be in. Not that I won't continue to make, queer content, anti-racist content on this here YouTube, but I did make the decision, it was kind of a big deal, this Samhain, I decided to release my blog. So I've been a blogger for 10 years on my existing blogs, and longer than that overall, and I decided that written blogs is not the way I'm going to go. One consequence of that, or one thing I wanted to make sure I thought about, is that now I'm not blogging anymore. Do I really need so many references, particularly just things like articles that are a good example of X argument? Like, do I need to keep these on hand? And I'm not sure that I want to totally get rid of them. I feel like there are things in everyday conversation where you want to be like, here, this article explains the thing I'm talking about really well, or you want to have a reference ready. But I do intend to go through my notes in Evernote, as many of them as I can, and see, like, do I really need the whole article? Do I just want part of it? Do I really need to save the whole article, or can I just have a list of links to reference? Here is a good thing for this. Because part of why I liked Evernote is that if something does get deleted from the internet, which does happen, I would still have a copy. But for things that aren't really for me to read, but they're more to give to others, do I really need that copy? So I do think it's a good idea to, like, really think about what you need to keep and what you don't need to keep. And I'm going to be doing that with Evernote. I also have a ton of notes from that are, like, really hard to let go of, but I had saved so many notes in this notebook called Become a Design Dev, I think, like designer or developer. And I'm not going to do that. I'm never going to do that. I've decided definitely not going to do that. But it's hard to let go of all the reference materials. Like, what if I want to build a website? Like, I'm not going to build a website. Yeah, so sometimes it is hard to let go of things, but that'll be a gradual process for me. Now, in terms of paper things, let me get to the stack I have next to me here. So, I started my bullet journal, and I will do a flip through of this. Started my bullet journal in mid-2017. And what I'll show you when I do a flip through is that it was a lot more detailed last year. My 2018, here's my first page of 2018. My 2018 bullet journal is definitely more minimal, more reduced. I mean, I still really enjoy it, and I think it's really good as a memory tool. So I'll do these, like, very basic kind of monthly spreads where I'll just note a couple things about that month that will help me to remember. I think that that's one of the things that I will continue to use my bullet journal for memories, and I've actually written up for next year. I've realized it because that is why I use it. So again, like, thinking about the purpose of why you use each tool. Since one of the things that's important to me is memories, how can I better facilitate that process? And so one of the things that I have done is for 2019 I've sort of written down, like, a monthly review, or what I'll do once a month for my weekly review, which includes doing that monthly spread and intentionally noting memories that I want to make note of, and some other things like what I was listening to or reading or enjoying during that time. The other thing that I really like with my bullet journal is references and collections. So for example, here's a spread I really like that I did of the year in astrology for this year. This is another astrology reference. So I find that my bullet journal is a really good place for keeping references. I am going to show you, like, there are other places that I'm keeping some of the tarot and astrology stuff. I don't want my bullet journal to be all that, and I want to have places that are just that. But things like what oils are used for what herbs are used for what, like useful reference things, I do intend to keep in my bullet journal. Like, some of the practices that I do now I am discontinuing. So for example, I did daily tarot pulls for a year. I really love the experience, but I'm not going to repeat it, so that won't be in my journal anymore. But I will still keep, like, some of these things. So figuring out what to keep in my bullet journal has definitely been part of the process. I'm going to try a new spread. I kind of cribbed this from Sunshine and Stationery's skincare tracker. So this is just a routines tracker, and this is a big thing that I'm going to try to get on top of. And another piece of advice, so this is actually, most of the things that I'm changing, I'm not going to change till 1/1/2019, but I think that sometimes a new year can be kind of daunting, and you can feel like, oh, you have to do stuff, and if you don't get the habit started, then, like, you just let go of it and you never do. And that's why one of the reasons why resolutions often fail. And so I thought it might be interesting, because I've given myself a month lead time on this, to try to implement some things in December, in late November, early December, to see whether they stick. Because I find that with me, like, if it's not gonna, like, within 3 or 4 weeks, I will know whether it's going to stick. So I made this routine spread. It's just dates on the vertical there, and then morning items, evening items, and a notes column. And so I came up with some things I want to try to do. Morning and evening routines have never worked well for me, but I want to try really hard to attempt the idea of blocking my time, because I do find that as someone with ADHD, it can be really depressing, and I've felt really low energy and motivation in the past few months because my work at home day is really sort of spread out, where I'm doing some work and then I'm doing another thing, and like I get through 12 hours and realize I've only worked 6, and like the other stuff I was doing wasn't that important. So I am going to try to block off dedicated time in the morning rather than just getting right to work, but actually doing some stuff in the morning, then working, then having work closed, then evening. And that seems really simple, but it is not for me. So I'll keep you updated on this channel. We'll see how this goes, but I am going to try to note, I'm gonna be gentle with myself. Like, I'm just gonna put a dot if I did it. If I didn't, it's fine, but maybe I can see like what, maybe half of these habits will actually stick, but see what works and what doesn't. And this only goes through the end of December, so I can always change the routines themselves in January if I want to, and see whether that sticks. Anyway, so we've got the bullet journal, mainly for memories, reference and collections, trackers, for some practical stuff. I do find that I have been updating a bunch of my bullet journal way retroactively, so I am going to try every month to spend some time with my bullet journal, and hopefully like more like every week, but we'll see how that goes. Then the other two things that I did actually use this year consistently, so this is I call it my witchy journal. I really just like this cover, it's really pretty. So this is, I never really had a journaling habit, but I have found since I've gotten more into witchy stuff that that this has been useful. I've used it for notes on like things that really struck me, listening to YouTube, or doing courses about tarot, about astrology. I have things like, here's just a Queen of Pentacles page. I'm not going to show you what's in here because it's personal journaling, but I do a lot of shadow work in this journal. So this has been a really positive thing. I definitely want to continue using this next year. I want to try to use it more actually for things like journaling on astrological events and how they hit me, journaling on maybe to some extent like taking a tarot pull, taking the initial stuff I write about it, and then carrying that on to a longer journal entry. I do intend to track astrology and tarot in a different place, but this is a good place for like long form writing. And then finally, the Mini Moons workbook. If you are an astrology person or witchy person, you probably have this. This is the last one. It was awesome to use in 2018. It really helped me become more focused on the moon, and it helped like bring me back regularly to astrology and tarot practice if I slipped. This is not continuing, but I will show you in a second what is. Well, actually, I'll just show you right now. There's the Lunar Planner. I do have a review up of this, so if you are interested in this, you can read the review. I'll talk about that in a bit, though, how I plan to use it. I also wanted to just point out the things that I tried and did not stick, because it's important to showcase our failures. So this is the Panda Planner. I will do a review of this. I actually think this is a great planner, and it did not stick, but I actually want to try it again. I think maybe if I have a clearer idea of how I'm using it. You can tell like the first few days, or first few weeks rather, I have the weekly planner, like I was really into the layout and stickers and like washi, and it's really pretty, and I kind of like that a lot. I think if I could make myself do it once a week, like that would be really cool. I love that there is a review page for each week where you can kind of review last week, think about this week, and then start to put things in. Part of the reason I didn't use it, I think, is that a lot of the things in my schedule are shifting, and I don't really have, like, I don't always know. I guess, again, I use GTD, so the idea of having like top priorities for a day doesn't always resonate because I have a list I can choose from. But I think I can take parts of this and leave other parts, and I really like the idea of, again, setting some dedicated time to sit down in front of a planner, take a look at what my week looks like. They do give you a lot of space to write down tasks, and I think it actually might be good for me, even though I have it in my digital system, to write it down. So this is another thing that I think could be useful, is thinking about how you are actually motivated, how things stick, how you remember things. I think if I put the extra emphasis of writing some of the most important things down, it might help me to actually do them. So we'll see if that's true, but I think I'm gonna test that theory and try the Panda Planner again. The other thing I like about the Panda Planner is it's undated, and it's pretty thick. So, you know, you can stop and start a number of times if you need to. And just, if you miss weeks, it's fine. You don't have to punish yourself. So that's one thing I really like, is that psychologically, if you are somebody, or if you're somebody with a disability and have lower spoons, like, this is not going to make you feel guilty for missing weeks. It's actually designed to make that easy. So that is really a benefit, I think, of the Panda Planner. I also did try this, the Desire Map Planner. So I really liked the Desire Map book and the concept of core desired feelings. I think that was really awesome. I wish I had been able to stick with this more. I considered whether to try it next year, but I just don't. I think I've got too many things here, and this doesn't really fit in. I do intend, though, to do a little core desired feelings check. That's something I took from here. I think I said I would do it every month, just to see if they're right, to see if I'm tuning into them. So, for example, in 2018, my core desired feelings were excited, nourished, abundant, and connected. And there's whole exercises in the actual book to help you come to those, but then the planner gives you space to kind of think about goals, how they align with the core desired feelings. And I like that model of, instead of thinking about just what are your goals, you're thinking about what will make you feel a particular way. And so that's really flexible, like throughout the year. What actually makes you feel that way might vary. So you can see, like, I did little sticker spreads for the first few weeks I used it. I was initially tracking my daily tarot pulls in here, but I moved that, as you saw, to the bullet journal. It does have moons and stuff, and I did write some astrology things, but because I didn't end up using this consistently or doing this like weekly review thing, it just really didn't stick. And I think this is a good planner, but I'm probably gonna, the weekly review I'll get out of the Panda Planner, and the astrology tracking I'm gonna do in the Lunar Planner. So I don't think I'll use this again, but I would say if you're interested in it, like, it's not a bad thing. I will maybe post a review of that as well. And then I also got this Radical Self-Love Almanac. It just didn't happen for me. Gayla Darling. I mean, it's cool, it's fun, it's got a lot of text, a lot of exercises, but I just didn't stick. I think, again, too many things. So, and then the last thing is I wanted to do a commonplace book, and I never quite got fully into it. But I really want to try that for 2019. I'm not going to put it as part of my system, because, again, I don't want to feel bad if I don't do it, but I feel like I really need one, and that would also help with the Evernote problem. So I'll keep you posted on how the commonplace book thing goes. Alright, so at risk of this becoming super long, so I talked about some of the things for 2019. Again, I'm kind of worried about Evernote. I didn't want to use Microsoft, so as much as OneNote could be a replacement, I think I'm going to go to DevonThink if I do transition. And DevonThink, it seems like a great tool, but it's really pro, so like I need to learn how to use it. I was also kind of looking at Notion in terms of digital tools. It's an interesting idea. Like, you might be into it if you need something that's like a personal dashboard. If you like having everything in one place and you are really focused on digital, then Notion might be worth checking out. But I think for me, it just, especially because it's a paid product after a certain point, like, I don't think I need it. Again, I do want to go back to using some of the paper tools. So I am going to try Panda Planner again. I am going to also use the Lunar Planner. So I did look at some of Welland's products. They have like a pocket planner. They have a couple of astrological options that have all the stuff for each day in them, and they are really comprehensive. And I would recommend one, like, if that's something you want. But I realized when I started looking through this Lunar Planner that it has a lot of space, which is super handy. So even though it focuses more on the moon, it has these layouts with plenty of space for each day. And because I intend to use the Panda Planner for actual planning or writing down my schedule or whatever, I don't need this space for other things. So I think this Lunar Planner, from the Many Moons Lunar Planner for Modern Women, is going to become my place for writing down all the astrology. I went ahead in advance and looked up all the transits for the year to my chart. Looked up a bunch of other things. I'm going to write those out. Maybe not all right away because that'll take forever. But at the beginning of each month, I think I'll write down these are the transits, and then maybe a sentence on how each might affect me. These aspects might be affecting me. And I also really like that there's already space in here to do a monthly, I'm pretty sure, to do a monthly tarot oracle card pull. And there's also space dedicated to write about how that turned out at the end of the month. That is perfect for me. So I'm going to do that monthly pull. I do also intend to do a weekly pull, and I'm not totally sure whether I'm going to keep that here or in my bullet journal. But this is where I'll do the kind of tracking for tarot. And then, like I said, I might write more in my witchy journal if I have more to say, because there's only so much space here. But I do think keeping all the astrology stuff in one place and having regular practice with it would be really good for me and help me to focus on it, just like the Many Moons workbook did this year. So that is the plan. All right, so that was a lot, but that is sort of what I am thinking for 2019. We'll see how it goes. I have no idea. It may or may not work. There may be other things I should try, so if there's something you would recommend, feel free to leave a comment below, or if you have any questions about any of the tools that I mentioned. I will probably not do updates under this Unproductive series necessarily, but I will post on my channel some videos throughout the year about how I'm using different planning tools and Bujo and different things. So definitely like and subscribe so that you do get notifications and know when that content is available, and let me know if there's any particular topics that you would like me to discuss either in the Unproductive series or more generally. Thanks so much for watching.